I created this amazing looking excavator model that you cannot buy anywhere for a scrapyard scene on my layout, and I created a lot of other details and parts, all with a new 3D resin printer, and I'm going to show you how on Ron's Trains and Things right now. Hi, I'm Ron of Ron's Trains and Things. As model builders, we all know how frustrating it can be to need a specific item to build out a scene, but that item is simply not available to buy anywhere. Those of us who are in scale know this all too well. There is a real want for certain types of items in scale, especially modern vehicles and structures, things that you just cannot buy anywhere. Well, one answer to that problem is 3D printing. With items like vehicles, 3D printing can produce many of the items that we need that are simply not available commercially. Even if you don't have CAD, computer-aided design background or skills, there are lots of items available online that you can download and print and get those unique items, those unique details and models that you cannot purchase otherwise. Now, I've been using a filament printer for different items for years, but I know that the real detailed items are best printed by far on a resin printer, which can create incredibly fine detail. Well, recently, my friends at Creality sent me the new Halot-X1 resin printer for test and review. This is an innovative new design in resin printing, and it makes resin printing so much easier and cleaner, and I was really excited to try it out by printing this excavator grappler that I needed for this scrapyard scene, as well as a bunch of other unique figures and detail parts for my layout. So let me show you how I found these files and how I used the Halot-X1 to print some fantastic unique models. This video is brought to you by Midwest Model Railroad. Building a dream layout shouldn't break the bank, which is why Midwest Model Railroad focuses on keeping their overhead low and passing those savings directly to you, the customer, with some of the most competitive prices in the hobby. MidwestModelRR.com. Link in the description. My immediate need that inspired this project was in my scrapyard scene in the Wichita Falls, Texas area of my layout. I've been planning this scene for a while, but I needed a couple of excavators with grapplers to handle the scrap. I had this one resin model which I had purchased online, but I needed a second one. I wanted something a little different, and I wanted to see if I could do as well printing one myself. Now, I don't have high-end CAD design skills, so I searched online for a file that would fit my needs. There are a lot of sources for files for 3D print online. One of the longtime standards is Thingiverse.com, where I found this model. I also found a Chick-fil-A restaurant that I want to print, but that's a project for another day. I was also searching for figures of people, and I found a ton of them, as well as other models on Cults3D.com. Most of the figures had to be scaled to size, but that was easy enough to do in the Slicer program. Again, this is a separate project, but I will link both of these sites in the description below so you can check them out for yourself. After downloading the files, I brought them into my Slicer program. The Halot printer has its own slicer called Halot Box, but I found it not to be very functional. The printer also comes, however, with information to connect to an online slicer called ShituBox, which works amazingly well. And it works with either Windows or Macintosh computers. I imported all of the parts to the grappler onto one plate, angled them at about 30 degrees, let the software add medium weight supports automatically, and sliced the file for printing. This is the Halot-X1 printer, and it has some amazing features. First, it has an auto-leveling build plate, so setup is a breeze. Just slip the build plate into place and the X1 does the rest of the work. The build plate also has a quick and easy twist-to-release feature, which makes removing finished parts much easier. The vat is super easy to remove and reinstall for easy cleaning, and the combo package comes with this automatic feeding unit, which automatically heats the resin, fills the vat to the optimal level, and reclaims leftover resin when you're finished. It even monitors the weight of the resin bottle so it knows how much resin you have to work with, and it knows how much you need for the current project. This unit is amazing. The Halot-X1 has a 10.1-inch 16K ultra-high resolution LCD screen for fantastic detail quality. It has a self-cleaning feature which will cure one layer of resin over the entire vat to easily remove any cured bits of resin debris that the vat has before reclaiming the leftover resin. You can transfer your files to the printer via Wi-Fi connection directly from your computer or using a USB drive. I use the USB drive here. I'm going to show you the rest of this project, but let me say first that if you're in need of a great resin 3D printer, I personally think the Halot-X1 is a fantastic one, and I have an affiliate link to where you can check one out in the description below this video. When you go there, be sure to scroll down to see the combo package so you can get that auto feeding unit with it as well. I'm not going to give you a full resin printing tutorial here, as there are thousands of those on YouTube, but after my parts are printed, I clean them in an ultrasonic cleaning vat using Mean Green Cleaner for about 5 minutes. You can find links to Mean Green and this ultrasonic cleaner in the description below as well. After 5 minutes in the ultrasonic cleaner, I drop them into 90% isopropyl alcohol for about a 2-minute rinse. Then I separate them and cure them for about 5 minutes under UV light. I am printing small in-scale detail parts, so this little setup works for me, but if you're printing larger items, larger curing stations are available as well. When cured, I remove the supports from the parts with some sharp precision side cutters. Sometimes the sides of the parts where the supports connected need a couple more minutes of curing after the supports have been removed. When fully cured, I cleaned up the surface of the parts with flush cutting tweezers and some sanding sticks. This is a good time to say that if you're enjoying this video and would like to see more model railroad tips, tools, and techniques to help you build a better model railroad, then be sure to subscribe down below and click the little bell icon so you won't miss future videos. The excavator that I printed has a couple of positionable parts in the boom, so I had to clean up these holes a bit with a small drill bit. And I used some 40,000ths of an inch styrene rod to create the hinge pins. I initially cut these pins long. I glued the bolster to the main body and the bolster pin to the track mount. Since I was working with resin, I made all of my glue joints with gel type CA. Next, I glued the tracks onto the track mount and the cab onto the main body, making sure everything fit perfectly. The file comes with both a track hoe bucket and a grappler, but it doesn't really have a good way to attach the grappler, so I modified the end of the boom slightly and glued the grappler solidly into place. I then positioned the boom exactly where I wanted it and glued the styrene pins in place, then trimmed them to length. I needed a paint that approximated Caterpillar yellow. I started with Tamiya XF3 flat yellow, but it was too bright, so I mixed in a few drops of XF60 dark yellow until I thought the color looked about right. I then thinned the paint 50-50 with isopropyl alcohol for painting with an airbrush. Before painting the model, I primed the resin with Tamiya primer for polycarbonate from a rattle can. You can see here that I first painted the underside of the main body and the tracks as well as the grappler with a charcoal gray color. I didn't worry about overspray when I applied the yellow, as I could touch this up by hand easily. I then applied the yellow to the main body, the boom, and the sides of the tracks. When it was all dry, I touched up the tracks and the grapple with a brush. The model has holes to install a handrail and exhaust stack. I made the handrail from 20,000ths of an inch styrene rod. Wire would look better here, but the holes were too big for wire. I made the stack with 40,000 styrene rod, and I painted both of these black. I also painted all of the windows on the cab black. I friction fit the main body onto the track assembly, and my excavator was ready for work on the layout. I'll add some weathering to this model as I build out the scrapyard scene. 3D printing is a great way to add a wide variety of models and details to your model railroad that are otherwise simply unavailable to buy. To see other 3D printed projects for model railroads, as well as other model railroad content, check out the links on your screen. Be sure to see my affiliate link for the Halot-X1, as well as my Amazon Pick of the Week and other valuable links in the description down below. And join me for future installments as I bring you even more great model railroad videos. And I'll see you on the next video. 10, Lizzie?